Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Travis Talks. In this week's episode, I would like to talk about promotion and relegation, specifically within the League of Legends system. This, of course, encompasses the way that teams move between the Challenger Series and the LCS. Currently, I think the system is broken. And of course, in the past, it has actually been fantastic. The whole idea behind it was that you would encourage better teams, better players, better organizations to move up into the LCS and replace struggling teams or organizations. You know, as much as I love my friend Marn, I do think that perhaps Team Marn was not the best representative of a good LCS team, especially compared to some of the teams that we have now. Unfortunately, with the growth of League of Legends and the growth of esports, we have seen the rising cost and value of LCS teams, and you've created this kind of farming system where you actually encourage teams and players to create challenger teams with the express intent of just selling them and profiting whenever they qualify in. And so you actually have examples, Team Liquid, Cloud9, examples of them specifically, where you have owners who have relationships with the players on their LCS teams. These players are able to move to a challenger team and actually compete over the course of a split and replace an LCS team. And what you've actually done now is encourage the LCS players to move down to challenger, some of your premier stars such as High and others, and try to just sort of win big by getting into the LCS. Now, I'm not sure what the relationship is with Cloud9, but for instance, Team Liquid recently went on the record with me saying that there was a system in place for challenger players to benefit if the team made it into the LCS. Now, this is great, and I actually don't blame the team owners for doing this, and it's great to see them taking care of their players. But unfortunately, what you've now done is created a system where it's far better for a Cloud9 player or a Team Liquid player to potentially play on a challenger team in order to get that kind of payout and make it back into the LCS. Now, there's a couple of different factors here, one of which being that the LCS prize pools are not fantastic. And so, you know, if you go by the rumors, an LCS team valued at $1 million, that's a pretty good payout for the owner, the organization, and the different players attached to the challenger team, especially if you can do this multiple times a year, or at least once a year. Additionally, the work that is required for a challenger team to compete over the course of the split is significantly less of for an LCS because you only need to be better than the worst teams in the LCS. You're not actively looking to make it to Worlds and compete on the world stage. So this is really unfortunate, and in just a couple of days, we might potentially see a world where a Team Liquid or a Cloud9 knocks out Echo Fox. Now, you obviously have some cool players on Echo Fox and some good players as well. And one might argue that this team should be able to defend themselves against a, challenger team. But again, you have LCS caliber players on these challenger teams, and so you end up in a world where you kind of have maybe mid-tier challenger or LCS players competing against bottom-tier LCS players for a spot at the bottom of the LCS. Very rough. The other thing that's a downside here is that you have perhaps Rick Fox, who a lot of people respect within the esports world, certainly respect within the sports world, a very notable owner that you would probably want to be part of your Premier League, and he might end up relegated in just a few days by a team that already exists within the LCS. So the system is just no longer working. You don't have new exciting owners coming in through the system. You don't have perhaps questionable organizations that you want to get flushed out through the system, and you have players that belong in the LCS relegating other players that belong in the LCS. It's just not good. So ultimately, you have to figure out how to fix this or how to adjust this. There's a couple different options, and I think if you look at it, maybe the biggest systemic problem at the moment is that you have these LCS teams competing in Challenger, essentially. So you decide how you're going to handle this. One option is to remove all LCS teams from Challenger, all the LCS orgs. So thus, if you have an LCS team already, you can no longer have a Challenger team in the Challenger Series. This would obviously prevent Team Liquid and Cloud9 and teams like them from relegating other LCS teams and then ultimately flipping the team because, of course, they can't have one at that point in time. And hopefully it would also encourage some of the LCS players to continue competing in the LCS and rather than move to the Challenger Series. The solution that I like the most for this is removing the Challenger Series completely and creating kind of a minor league system with the major league system, being LCS, where pretty much if you are part of the LCS, you would have to have a minor league team. So everybody gets an A team, everybody gets a B team. This includes Cloud9, Immortals, Echo Fox, NRG. Pretty much your incentivized and mandated to have a B team. And then you also create incentives around the idea that your B team should succeed. So you put a lot of incentives into encouraging people to succeed in the minor league. I guess you could still call it challenger. This is actually pretty fascinating, and I think would be great because we've seen a lot of the teams create challenger teams specifically because they want to have a place to grow talent, a place to sort of keep their LCS players motivated by having other players just waiting in the wings to move up. And you really start to establish these brands that are going to be stable and move around. At that point in time, you would not have other teams move into the LCS unless they acquired a spot. So ultimately, I think this is the most fascinating and interesting situation and solution to the problem that we have right now, and I really would like to see Riot move in this direction. Anyway, thanks for watching Travis Talks. Stay tuned for more esports content here at Yahoo Esports.